This is Channel 3 Eyewitness News, the news most people watch, with Pat Sheehan, Denise DeCenzo, Hilton Cataly Weather, and Dave Smith Sports.
Good evening, everyone. Two major stories tonight affecting each of us. One in the pocketbook, the other a question of war and peace on the Persian Gulf.
President Reagan says tonight there won't be a war with Iran. We'll have more on that Gulf story just ahead.
First, though, tonight's other major story, the collapse of the bull market. The world has suffered from today's cataclysmic sell-off. The stock markets in Europe and the Far East all recording their worst ever trading as Wall Street dropped more than 500 points on volume, nearly 3 times as large as its historic high volume. And don't be fooled, it's not only the fat cats who are getting hurt tonight. Channel 3 business editor Jim Weisbich is joining us now with word this crash is going to cost all of us in our pension funds and perhaps with our jobs. Jim is standing by in the newsroom. First Lady Nancy Reagan is said to be feeling wonderful tonight, cheered by the arrival of thousands of flowers and cards from well-wishers around the globe as she recovers from breast surgery. The hospital says that they're expecting Mrs. Reagan will stay on board through the end of the week and then return home to the White House for further recuperation. The White House says the First Lady is anxious to return to her normal schedule of activities, including public appearances and state functions at the White House. From Midland, Texas, also encouraging news tonight. Doctors tell us they are optimistic about saving little Jessica McClure's right foot. The foot, of course, was jammed against her face and the wall of the well shaft where the 18-month-old was trapped for 2.5 days last week. We get the latest from Steve Stoller.
No one told me anything. These are the first pictures of Jessica.
I'm sure Hilton will be charmed. Thanks, Linda. Pat?
Coming up in just a moment, either Linda or Hilton will be here with the latest forecast. We don't know, but we do know who walked in today to cash in those lottery tickets, the big ones down in Pennsylvania. 1 ticket, 2 winners, $42 million. Stay with us. The story is still ahead. I said 42 million on the Pennsylvania lottery. It's 46 million, but that was before the last 20 minutes on Wall Street today.
Oh,
we'll get to them in a
taxes.
moment.
Yeah.
And taxes.
That's right.
Good evening, everyone. It's only a family gathering on a rainy Friday night, but when the family is royal, it can attract a crowd.
The Duke and the Duchess of York, they're here in Connecticut tonight.
Well, Sir Geoffrey Howe certainly would be on that list, but he is otherwise engaged tonight. The British Foreign Secretary tonight is looking over the new arms control deal. He calls it the beginning of the beginning in the arms control process. A deal today for the United States and the Soviet Union on eliminating more than 1,000 nuclear weapons from Europe. The American Pershing II and cruise missiles being withdrawn or not deployed. The Soviets tearing down existing short and medium-range missiles targeting Europe and Asia. It seems all sides agree the deal today is only a start, but the first arms control plan ever actually reducing the number of weapons.
Bork faces a 4th day of testimony tomorrow.
The chairman of those Bork hearings had some problems of his own today. Presidential hopeful Democratic Senator Joseph Biden defending his honor after charges of plagiarizing some of his campaign material and having covered up plagiarism claims when he was a law student at Syracuse University.
I've done some dumb things.
Senator Biden said, in his words, it's all much ado about nothing. He didn't say if he wrote that line himself. Gail?
There's a lot more ahead on the night beat for you tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Several local firefighters have been injured late this afternoon battling a 4-alarm fire at a church near the New Haven Green.
The First United Methodist Church at College and Elm Streets was undergoing renovations. Sky 3 pilot Jack Mayers is over the scene right now with the very latest. Jack.
Well, Pat, Denise, about a half an hour ago, they did declare the fire under control.
We can see the scaffolding there. We know renovation work was underway inside the church there.
Yes, it was. They were renovating the church with scaffolding all up and down the church, so we've seen this kind of thing before.
All right, let's point out, too, this is not one of the 3 historic churches on the green itself. This is a block over at the corner of College and Elm Street.
Yeah, we can widen out a little bit there and show you the other 3 churches were actually on the green. This is behind those churches and to the northwest of them.
Right, and of course, the historic center of New Haven, the first planned city in the United States where that 9-square block area was laid out by the Puritans when they came to found the colony. And, of course, right across the street from Yale University. Jack Mayers with Sky 3 over New Haven. Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Other news tonight, the mother and father of 2 children who died in Canterbury last month did not show up today for their court hearing on the deaths of their 2 youngsters. Carlene and Leonard Edmond of Canterbury face possible rearrest in the case if they're not before the judge next week. Two of the couple's 4 children died last month after being left asleep in the family's car overnight. They were found overcome by carbon monoxide the next day, dead from the poison in auto exhaust. It's a dreadful place to live. We call it low-income housing, often built by public tax dollars, maintained by rent payments from welfare checks. Survival here is a daily challenge.
There's normally no lights in there at all. Then it's dirty. Trash is constantly in there. Somebody's always urinating in the hallways. And it's just plain filthy.
30 years ago, the first tenants moved here to Elm Haven. It was a model of low-income housing. Bright and clean, decent shelter for people on the low end of the economic ladder. Today, it's something else entirely. Dirty, depressing, dangerous. And for the people who live here, there's only one thought: to get out. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another New England Sunday, another rather chilly Sunday morning. Deborah is off this week. We have plenty of interesting discoveries, though, we'll all be sharing on this Columbus Day weekend, including some revealing facts about the man who set sail to discover the New World, Mr. Columbus himself. We'll be meeting a couple of Soviet doctors currently discovering the United States, promoting peace, they say, and sharing knowledge about Soviet medicine. And we'll have some fascinating discoveries that are being made by toddlers and infants enrolled in an innovative music program here in Connecticut. What made you do this? What made you want to get the little kids out there to do this musically?
Well, some research that I encountered as a doctoral student did.
Good morning to you. Another soggy, very soggy weekend around Southern. Remember last Sunday? Well,
yes,
it's not going to be that bad. We'll try to get you off to a bright start today. It sure has been the media story of the year in Connecticut. It broke last month. Former Hartford Courant reporter Andrew Craig releasing a book that strongly criticizes the management and the ethics of the newspaper. The Courant, the nation's oldest continuously published newspaper. When you look back at it, what's that central point that you're trying to drive home to people about the Hartford Courant?
Well, the essence of it is a description in a specific way of abuse of power and also hypocrisy in not being willing to admit it.
By Mike Davies, the publisher at the Courant, or by the organization in general?
In many ways, he wants to focus, I guess, on personalities, but that's not really it.
You focus on him as a personality.
Yes, only him, really, because in many ways his personality embodies the organization.
84,000 NU customers were without power throughout part of the week. The greater Danbury area in western Connecticut was the hardest hit. It sure didn't look like winter, but those lines were down. Many customers around the region are asking why outages are becoming the norm when any kind of bad weather hits in the northeastern part of the country.
The reality is that the snowstorm that we just went through and some of the weather conditions we've had over the last year or two have been extraordinarily bad. There has never been snow, for instance, as early in Connecticut as we experienced. There was no forecast.
What difference does it make that it's early, or that the forecast is wrong? Really, I mean, if you get a snowstorm, whether it comes now or it comes in January, what difference does it make?
And the weight of the snow, with all of those trees, there's going to be a problem under severe weather conditions, providing service continuously.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you before, but you didn't answer my question, which is, what difference does it make that you didn't have an accurate forecast of this snow? If the snow itself was the problem, the forecast really doesn't make a difference, does it? The colors of the spectrum, a product of sunlight. We harness the power and flame to propel mankind toward other worlds, the energies of color exploding particles over the horizons of the mind. Am I alone or many? Is my color red or green or blue? What is true? Come in and climb the stairs, behind the neon sign where science and art come into focus, in the world of Mary and Joe and West and Sean and Dean.
see these things unfolding in front of you. It's like looking at flowers. What practical good are flowers, really, you know? But everyone enjoys them, even the most hardened materialist.
Only in New England, poetry etched in a crevice of your heart. Around the corner from David Brewster's mind, through the imagination of new explorers, using shards of stone and sunbeams to bring splendor to the dark.
Bring you up to date on the news. Pat?
Thank you, Gail. Topping our news this evening, another round of shots being fired in the Persian Gulf. This time, American warning shots fired at an Iranian hovercraft closing in the same area where we had just seized an Iranian vessel laying mines in the shipping lanes off Bahrain. Union football players have made good their strike threat, walking out on the National Football League. The last time they walked out, it caused a sharp drop-off in fan interest, something expected once again this time. Channel 3's Ginny Musanti is joining us live via Satlink 3 from the Meadowlands in New Jersey. She will be joining us in just a few moments to bring us up to date with the latest on how the players are faring. And, of course, the picket lines now have gone up outside most of the headquarters of the various NFL franchises. Talk about a rebound along Wall Street. Take a look at these numbers. The Dow Jones Industrial Average not only tracked back up through the 2,500 level, it blasted off for more than a 75-point gain, mostly in the latter part of the afternoon, trading volume better than 210 million shares. Forbes magazine and Fortune magazine are publicly arguing now over their annual list of who is the world's wealthiest. Forbes reports that a Japanese landlord tops the list with a personal fortune of about $20 billion. Fortune magazine says that guy is small potatoes. He's only got $2.5 billion. They give the richest man honor to the Sultan of Brunei, who, of course, would be Gail's personal favorite. Yeah. Either way, it's a good bet that neither man is about to let the press come in and take a look at the bank records to try to settle the argument. I thought Bill Cosby was the world's richest man.
I did too, with $84 million. I bet those guys, Pat, don't drive to New York to get lotto tickets like I did this past weekend.
It didn't work either, Gail.
Yeah, it didn't work. Didn't work. Thank you, Pat.